All right. Hey, everybody. What's up? It's your girl Fluffy, and I'm back with another episode of Worries and Wine. I know it looks a little different today, but it's because today I'm talking to one of my long distance friends, Joey, who is here with me today. And he's going to be talking about how he basically built himself from the ground up from having absolutely nothing to now he's got businesses. He's learned his way through credit hacks and things of that nature. So, without further ado, Joey, go ahead and talk to our people if you can.
I'll just give you guys a little breakdown, quick little rundown of my life. So I come from a mother that was single, um, you know, lived in poverty. My father died
Mhm.
when I was 7 years old from drug abuse. And she was a single mother of four. I have a brother and two sisters,
Mhm.
and pretty much, being, you know, poor in poverty, uh, her always working. We kind of just
Mhm.
ripped and ran and did what we wanted to do. So, that took me through some real hard, challenging challenges in life. Going through juvenile placements to later on in
Mhm.
life going to prison. Um, at the age of, I say like 13 or 14, I started selling drugs, and that was because we didn't have nothing, and that was like coming up
Right.
in the early '90s, late '90s. The crack and coke where we came from
She
was
was big
it was
then, right?
it was bad. It was bad. Um, so I struggled with selling drugs my whole life because that's the way that I knew of making money. I didn't know any other way.
Mhm.
My mom, she didn't have any uh, skills or knowledge with credit or just what I mean. She was just paycheck to paycheck. Um,
Mhm.
so I had to learn things the hard way in life. It wasn't until about 2007, which was one of the hardest times of my life. I lost my best friend, Christian Oliveris. He was murdered.
Mhm.
Guys came into his house to rob him, and ended up shooting and killing him in front of his baby mother and his kids.
Wow.
And right around that time, I was actually on house arrest because I had gotten charged and
Mhm. Joey, can you hear us? We lost you there. You said that your last thing was, if you can hear me, that you had gotten charged.
yeah, I got charged in
Mhm.
2007 is when I got
Mhm.
charged. He died that year, and then I went to jail in the beginning of 2008, and I did 2 to 4 years is what I was sentenced. They gave, because it was my
Mhm.
first felony. They gave recommendation for boot camp. They have a program for adults that
Right.
if you get in trouble, they'll give you. It's a less charge, so I was able to come home in a year, and I had to walk 3 years off on parole.
Mhm.
When I came home, after being at the boot camp, that was probably the only institution in the Department of Corrections that I can actually say that they really cared and tried.
Mhm.
Where the state prisons, you're just another number. They're just pushing you through, and you're most likely gonna come. Um, so when I came home, I came home with the hopes of possibly going into the military because they had told me in boot camp, oh yeah, even though you have a felony, you can still join the Marines or the Navy. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try
Mhm.
to make a difference. When I came home and tried, they laughed at me. They're like, you're a convicted felon. The military is not going to take you.
Wow.
So yeah, it was messed up, man. Right before I went to
Yeah, that's
prison,
definitely.
ah, it was tough. Right before I went to prison, I was actually in a an apprenticeship to becoming a barber.
Mhm.
And, I got charged, so I never really got to finish my apprenticeship and get my license. So when I came home, that was my determination. I was like, I'm going to get my license, and I did. I
Mhm.
came home, got my license, but it was probably 3 to 4 months after being home that I went right back to selling drugs. I was probably at the age of 25, I
Was that
want to say.
because at that point you were just like, I'm so used to just making this money as quick, as fast, I can get a lot of it and not even have to do a lot to get it? Is that what that was?
That, and it was. addiction of the lifestyle. So, just
Oh,
like addicts are
addiction.
addicted
Okay.
to, you know what I mean? They're addicted to doing the drugs. We're addicted to selling them. It's a fast paced life. It's risk.
Right.
So
Okay.
it was a form of an addiction to
Mhm.
making that quick money. And just I really didn't have any opportunity. I came home and I was living at my mom's. I'm 25 years old. I'm like, I tried to work the 9 to 5
Mhm.
regular job, and I wasn't used to making that little bit of money. I was like, this isn't cutting it. So I went right
Right.
back to the street and did that. And it wasn't until my wife that I'm with now got pregnant.
Mhm.
When she got pregnant, that's turned it all around for me. That actually
Okay. So
saved my
now you becoming a family man. Okay.
career. So when she got pregnant, before she got pregnant, I wanted to leave the drug dealing alone, and I was trying to find a
Mhm.
way decent money. So when she got pregnant, it was like, all right, this is the sign. I'm gonna be here for my child. My father wasn't. I want to be. Whether and I went and made $100 a day doing tree work, working
Mhm.
my ass off, not making nothing,
Right.
and just kept pushing, kept pushing. Um, at that time, I did it. When I came home, I did get my barber license, but I wasn't doing barbering. Like I had it, I was there for a little bit,
Mhm.
and then I left it. So then the weird part of the story is the way that I got into doing tree work, which is another thing that saved my life, was
Uh-huh.
a guy that I was selling the drugs to had a tree company, and he was a
Oh wow.
loud guy. And one day he's in my apartment, and I'm cutting his hair,
Mhm.
and he's challenged me. He was like, "Man, you don't know what hard work is and all this." And I said, "Dude, just because I sell drugs and cut hair, don't think I don't know how to work. I've been working my whole, off and on my
Right.
whole life." So he was like, "All right, well, come to work with me." So I went to
Mhm.
work with him, and he liked the way I worked. He was like, "Damn, yo, I'm surprised. Like, you work pretty good, man." And I said,
So he
"Well,
underestimated you just because of what he knew you to be.
yes, exactly. Yep,
Wow. Okay. So the judgment that comes along with, so you would say that there is a judgment that comes along with once you are labeled as the drug dealer or the person that doesn't have the quote unquote conventional job.
yep, exactly." And
Okay.
that's exactly what it was. And when we worked that day and I seen him climbing, I was like, man, that looks pretty fun. And then I seen the money that the lady handed to him. And I
Uh
was
huh.
like, that really sparked my interest. I was like, yeah, you made that much money in that little bit of time. I want to learn to climb. And he
Mhm.
bullshit, you don't want to learn. So anyway, I kept
Mhm.
pushing him and other people that I knew to teach me.
Mhm.
In the long run, I ended up becoming self-taught with tree work. He
Okay.
he showed me very basic things, how to tie a climbing knot, you know,
Mhm.
the very basics of it. But I had to push to really get that next step of, okay, yeah, I am a tree climber. And it wasn't until about 2 years after doing it, had
Mhm.
been leaving the drug dealing alone and stuff. I had my first son that I ended up taking a class for tree climbing. It was like a
Mhm.
week long class. It was $480, and it was probably one of the best $480 I ever spent because it just upped my game. I was like, all right, I can do this.
Right. Because it was like I have the experience, and now I'm gonna add this,
You know.
and it just took you to the next level. Okay. So
So
you believe that once you figure out what it is that you want to do, like if you have a specific niche, if there's something that you're good at, you believe in investing in that to further it, correct?
exactly, exactly.
Okay.
I what's the famous saying? They say, master. What is it? Um, master of all trade. No, no, it's something of all trades, master of none. Right.
Jack of
So
all trades.
jack of all trades, master of none. So that's a lot of people looked at me like that because I was doing barbering, I was doing tree work, and I was doing carpentry all
Oh, okay.
throughout the years. I was doing multiple things, and it was a lot. Don't get me; it was too much, really.
Right, because you
Um,
had to have multiple streams of income. So whatever worked, it was like what's gonna pay the bills. Okay.
exactly, exactly. So at one point wasn't it was about so I had my first son in 2012. 2013, an opportunity came along for a barber shop, and I had been wanting to get into it. And I
Mhm.
it was a month before before I got the phone call, I was thinking about. I was like, man, I should get back into barbering because at that time I was doing carpentry and tree work. I was full time carpentry though. The
Mhm.
tree work was side work. So get a phone call. Guys like, look, they're opening the shop. They need barbers. You want to come along? I said, yes. Met the people. I ended up working at that shop for 5 years and becoming
Mhm.
the top guy. Like I was making the last 3 years over 50 grand a year. So
Mhm.
it was pretty good money. And always coming home with cash in my pockets from tips
Mhm.
and stuff. Um, and 5 years deep into it, I the business was doing well, but the barbershop was stagnant. It wasn't growing anymore. So I came to the owner and said, look, I want to do my own shop and I have ideas for it. How about I give them to you? And you pretty much guarantee me a certain commission that I want and start getting me ready for my own shop.
Mhm.
We'll open up under your name. So they agreed. Well, it ended up backfiring on me. They ended up screwing me. So yeah,
Wow.
after 5 years of working there, I ended up walking away from the business. I ended up, me and her got in a fight and I walked out. She
Mhm.
pretty much fired me, but it wasn't like you're fired. We got in a
Right.
fight and
It
she
was
was
just
like,
like we
you
just
can.
not about to do business anymore.
So I was like, you guys screwed me over. I gave you all my ideas and now you're reaping the benefits of it. I'm leaving. Like you guys screwed me over. And it was a life lesson that you got to
Yeah.
really be careful of your dreams, hold on to them. And
Right.
I thought that these people were like good people and we were like a family. But at the end of the day, they were just trying to make money. They didn't
Right.
care
It
about me
became
and my
money
family.
about money. Yeah.
And you got to be careful when it comes to money and business. People will screw you over faster than it was crazy. It was mind boggling to me because I had 3 kids. I had bought my
Mhm.
first home beginning of 2016. So I
Mhm.
had a mortgage, a new van payment because I had gotten my wife a van brand new,
Mhm.
and I had all these bills, and I ended up leaving the shop, and it was very stressful. It was very overwhelming for me. I was living month to month trying to pay my bills, and I hated living
Mhm.
like that. Um,
Wow. I mean, a
it
lot of
was
people
one of
do,
the
and right now
great
where we're at, a lot of people are living like that.
and, and it sucks. It really does. And the best thing that I can say to people is be willing to fail because that is the only way that you're ever going to succeed. You have to fail. It's just a part of becoming successful. The only way
Mhm.
and I think a lot of people are afraid to grow. And another thing is if don't be comfortable. Step outside of your comfort zone. So I learned a lot through it though. I learned how to
Mhm.
build credit. I had to take classes on my own, and you really gotta. It's not taught in our society, and it's sad because
It's not.
they, nah, it's not. In school, they teach you the dumbest shit that you'll never use or remember.
Right, that you don't need. I don't know why I need world history about every other country,
And they
but I
say
would have
they
preferred the credit class. Okay, I would have preferred
exactly,
that.
exactly, and they say that they teach history so it doesn't repeat itself, but yet it seems to keep repeating itself,
Yes,
right?
I wholeheartedly what we just saw recently in the last couple of days.
Especially
It's
with this
definitely a
law.
repeat.
Gosh, especially with that, it's like, wow, it's mind-boggling.
Hmm.
So, but you had. I feel like me personally, I know a lot of people, and I was always hoping that somebody was going to come along and save the day and help me build my business.
Hmm.
That ain't the case.
Ooh,
Everybody's out
okay.
looking out for themselves. And it's sad that it has to be like that. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I I just recently had to walk away from a deal on a barbershop. Like I was gonna open up a barbershop
Uh-huh.
and I had to walk away just because it was one of those type of situations where they were just trying to look out for themselves. Where I
Yeah,
was
you
trying to
could
look out.
already see it because you've already been through that. So you're already like, oh no, wait a minute.
I said I ain't doing
Right,
it.
right.
So the game plan for me right now is just sticking to my tree business. The barbershop, when I get the money, I'll do that in the long run. I'm young
Right.
right now. My body can take the abuse of tree work, and I can
Hmm.
make a lot of money. So that's what I'm gonna do. Um,
Right.
I want to rewind a little bit. So
Okay. No worries. Go
right
ahead.
before I was gonna have my son, a guy that I used to sell drugs to had his own carpentry business. And I
Hmm.
went to him and said, "Look, man, I want to get away from this stuff. I need a full time job." So he said, "Look, I'll let you come work for me, but you have to promise me that you'll stop selling drugs because if you're selling them, then I'm probably going to buy them from you and I'm going to lose everything I got." So we made that agreement. I said, I'm not going to sell drugs. I'm done. So I went and worked with him for 2 years before I went to that barber shop.
Okay.
And he things that he ever built was, he said, "Joe, you gotta don't fuck getting rich." He said, "Find a comfort number." He said for him it was $400 a day. He said if I can make four hundred
Okay.
dollars a day, 5 days a week, all year, it's $96,000 a year. $400 a day to average American is a lot of money. Like that's
Right.
decent money. So that's what I went off of. At that time I was working for him. I was making about $125 to $135 a day. So
Hmm.
I just took that knowledge and said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find that number that makes me comfortable and figure out what I need to make a day to live comfortably. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Okay.
then once you
Like I
start
want to
doing
live
that,
above my means. I'm not trying to be Oprah Winfrey. I'm not trying to be Jeff Bezos. Like I'm just trying to make sure that my family is taken care of
exactly,
without any limitation. Right.
that's exactly it. That's
Okay.
exactly in that little niche with him. That was my new thing. And
Hmm.
as the years progressed on, my day rate progressed on. It went from 150 to 200 to 250, depending on the kind of work that I was doing. And
Right.
then, you know, then I went to the shop, worked there for 5 years, left that
Hmm.
shop, and then the last 3 years, 17 to 18 and 20. Yeah. So the last 3 years have been just building my business. And I got so caught in the rat race of the 9 to 5 job that once I started doing my own business, I was almost like brainwashed that I had to work every day. Okay.
So
And
was
it
that because
wasn't
it was your own business that you felt like, okay, I have to work every day to make this work? Was that because I mean that's
no
the fear that some people have when they say I'm gonna open my own business and I'm gonna do it full time.
so no, and I'll explain what I mean. So when I first left the shop, I was working for other people and doing my own thing because my business hadn't quite grown yet where I
Hmm.
wanted it to where I could have full-time work. Um, but about 2019 is when it started hitting for me. I was like, all right,
Okay.
I got this. But I would still go, even when I didn't have my own work, I would still go work for another guy. And I was
Okay.
making crap wages compared to what I was making for myself. Like I would go work and make $250 in 8 hours. Where if it was my work, I could make $1,000 in a day
Right.
for that. You know what I mean? So it was I had to get out of that that mentality of I have to work every day. So now,
Hmm.
like this year and last
Uh-huh.
year, I told myself if I didn't have work for myself, then I would do something to build my business, whether it's work on my equipment or whatever, advertising, whatever I can do.
Hmm.
I'm not going to go work for somebody else. I'll just find ways of making work for myself, even when I don't have a physical job to go do. Um, so that's been my new goal now. Like 2021 and last year, I was like, I'm not working for
Okay.
nobody but myself. So like
Wow.
sometimes
Okay.
like the month of December, I didn't work at all. I worked maybe one time, right?
Hmm.
But I had the money to where I can sit back and say, you know what?
We
I
good.
don't have to. Yeah, I'm good. Like I'm
Hmm.
comfortable. I'm not rich, but my bills will be good this month if I don't work. It is what it is.
Right.
But I did other things. I did, I'm getting into like tree carving, like carving owls and this and that.
Hmm.
For one, we take down trees. In the winter, it gets real slow for tree guys. So
Right.
now when I cut down a tree and the customer has a stump, I can say, look, I do stump carving. Would you like me to carve you?
Right. So it's not
Just
just the
trying to find
subject, but it's got something a little bit more meaningful. So that's an
Exactly.
extra
So if
charge.
I'm
They
not
thinking like, okay, cool.
exactly, and you know, it gives me something to do. Like if I'm not working, I can come home and practice carving. You know, and
Hmm.
that's a form of work in my eyes. Yeah, I'm not making money right then and there, but it's gonna pay in the long run. So
Right.
the biggest thing, and then you know, building credit, like it's sad that they don't teach it. Like the general public probably doesn't know when you have a credit line that you should only take out of that credit line 20 to 30% tops. 30 is kind of pushing
Hmm.
because
And that's
anything
for
above that will
utilization,
hurt
correct?
your credit. Would you say?
I said, and that's for utilization.
Would you
So,
say?
like, if you have a credit card, you should only use about 20 to 30% of that actual limit, correct?
Exactly, exactly. So I always
Yeah.
give people easy breakdown. If you have $1,000, that's if
Hmm.
you have $1,000 credit line, that's $200 to $300 that you want to touch on that. Nothing above that, because anything above that will hurt your credit. And
Hmm.
and this is at the very basic levels of credit, and the average American doesn't know that. They get a credit card, they max it out, and then their credit shit, and they're like, "Why is my credit hurt?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's because that's a general rule that you know, for instance, there's a guy down in Haverford that actually I just worked for today.
Hmm.
He grew up in money. Mom was a doctor, dad was a doctor.
Hmm.
You know, but the rich people, they teach their kids this. It's like
Hmm.
basic knowledge to their kids. It's like second
Right.
nature to them, to
And that's
where
because they don't want them to mess up the money that they're going to inherit. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly,
you're on that line. I don't want you to mess this up. I don't want nobody telling you I didn't tell you this.
exactly, where we don't teach this in our society. And you know, when you come from poverty and stuff, the general public from where I come from don't know shit about credit. You
Yeah,
know,
mine too. They don't know. Because, I mean, I wish I would have known. But I was like 18, 19. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I would have known what I know now about credit, because it's like you said, it's not even in college. And I'm getting my PhD, and there's still no classes about how to handle your finances in college. And I've been in college since I was like 14,
hmm
and there's
it,
none. So why do you think that is? Why do you think that they don't teach those that are in poverty about credit?
it's honestly it's the basic knowledge statement of the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poor. It's a real thing.
Mm,
You know, knowledge is power, and knowledge can look at Martin Luther King. Look at what he did because of the knowledge and the words that he expressed. Knowledge and words are very powerful things. The video was called The Secret, and it was based on like if you believe something and really think
right,
about it, that
manifestation, right?
it'll come true.
Hmm.
That honestly, in my opinion, that is a real thing. That's
Okay,
definitely real because that's what I've done with buying my house. I manifested it. I just kept saying it and telling I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna buy my first house, and I did. I ended
okay.
up doing it. You know, same with my tree business. I was like, I'm gonna make
Hmm.
this happen. I kept telling myself, and I'm not a person to write things down, but they say that's even stronger. Like if you write it down, you're bringing it to life. That's a real thing.
Okay.
Like really,
So
you know, not every
manifestation is
day.
something that you have practiced
Oh
on this
yeah,
journey.
definitely. I'm a big, strong believer in just thinking positive, doing positive. Positive will come your way. You know,
Okay.
it's a real. So
Okay.
you know,
Wow. I
credit, and
mean, this.
and I'm still learning a lot about credit. Like you know, for
Mhm.
instance, if you took a say a home equity line of credit off your
Uh-huh.
house, that kind of credit is different. You can use 79% of that credit, and it won't hurt your credit. You know, obviously
Wow.
they want you to now I'm gonna tell you something though. They want you to use your home equity line of credit so you can stay in debt longer. So
Right.
I'm not, you know what I mean? Like there's tricks of doing things that I'm still learning, but
Mhm.
I'm a big strong, you know, with the biggest thing with credit is, you
Mhm.
know, when a bill is due, pay it the day that it's due. And just, you know,
Right.
or
And
pay
don't pay it
extra.
afterwards. Don't catch any late or interest fees, because now you're not really even paying the credit. You're just paying your interest in the late fee at most.
Exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
To get a little deeper into things, so mortgage, the word
Hmm.
mortgage, if you look it up where it originates from in Latin, the meaning is death sentence. It's messed up that that's
I did not know that.
yes, it's sad that that's what it is, but it's the harsh
Okay.
reality that a mortgage can be a fucking death sentence. A 30-year
Yeah.
mortgage. I bought my first house at the age of 30. If I do the 30-year mortgage, I'll be 60 by the time it's
60.
paid off.
Yeah.
And I'll end up paying way more than what I
What
should,
is actually worth. Exactly.
because I remember the first bill that came in on my mortgage payment. My mortgage payment was like $1,087, and I
Hmm.
made the first payment. The bill came in and it said $186 went to the principal. It hurt my stomach. I almost got sick. I was like, "Are you
Because you're
fucking?"
like, look at how long it's going to take.
I was like, "Why? Where the hell's all the other money going?" You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, that's going to your interest. That's going to your taxes. It's
Right.
sad. It really is, And if
Yep.
most Americans, if they could just have a place to live, you would have so much more money to be financially better off. That's a big chunk of where you're. The two biggest buys you'll ever have in your life is a mortgage and a car payment. They're
Hmm.
the two biggest buys. And there's so many tricks. Like one guy told me, I'm not going to get in too much into that, but when you buy a mortgage, you can ask your mortgage company, give me an amortization table. That's like if you do your payments exactly from that day, exactly how they are, they'll show you the breakdown of everything. Well, he was starting to teach me a little trick that if you take whatever the interest rate is the next month, slap it down on that month before, and
Hmm.
put it towards the principal and try to beat my thing with the mortgage is try to beat the interest. Pay extra in
Right.
the beginning. Dave
Because the more
Ramsey,
interest you pay means the more money you will have paid. You will come out paying about 10,000, 20,000 more than what it was actually worth just because you're paying all these little other things in between and you're only paying like a small amount towards the principal.
exactly,
Wow. But I didn't know that though. I had no idea. I mean,
yeah,
I don't own a home, but I am looking to buying a home this year. And these are the things that I had no idea.
yeah, yeah. It's
So it's like clearly I have a lot more homework to do before I just say, okay, I want to buy a house.
well, and look into Dave Ramsey. He's a big guy. That's one of my clients that I deal with. He's a super big follower of him. Like that guy, he doesn't believe in using credit, which I do. I do believe in using credit. If you do it right,
Hmm.
you can fit from it. Like for instance, if your credit's good, I bought a brand new 2017 Bam that year. I did my
Hmm.
research. I didn't just the problem with our society today is with medicine and social media, everybody wants shit now. I want it now, 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 now. When I went to buy my first vehicle, I did the research. They tell you to buy it towards the end of the year because they're coming in with the new models, so you're going to get a better deal. And then
Right.
when you do it, if you ever paid attention to a car salesman, they have like timeshare tactics where they try to take your time. They'll leave you in there all
Hmm.
day. So by the end of it, they just get you to sign papers and walk out because
Right.
you're tired. You're like, I just want to get the hell out of here, dude. Just give me the papers, I'll sign them. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, take your time. Like I did research before I bought my first vehicle, and
Hmm.
what they said was find the best dealer that you know, go in there, get a price, and then after that, do not step foot inside another dealership until you get a deal. So what I did was I found the number one car salesman in
Uh
my
huh.
area who was Muhammad at Toyota Dell, or was it Dell? A Toyota dealership down in Malvern. And he was good. I walked in, he said, take the car for a ride. He didn't even go with me. I came back 10 minutes, he came out with the offer. And it was a
Hmm.
pretty decent offer. I said, all right, I'll contact you. I sent that offer to another company.
Hmm.
I said, can you beat it? They beat it. Then after they beat it, I sent it to another company, all through
Right.
emails. I never, you know what I mean? And then
Never
finally,
stepped
I ended up,
foot.
yeah, yeah, because they try to wheel you down. They try to make you, if
Right.
you ever went to like a timeshare thing,
Yeah.
it,
They're super long
it's the same.
time periods and they
Yep.
sit there and they work with
And
you
they
and they
talk,
work with
talk.
you. Mhm.
All right. So I sent it to 3 different dealers. I ended up getting it under the apparent price of what the dealership pays. They'll tell you, oh yeah, this is the, I forget what the hell the term is, but I got it way under that, and I got it interest, no interest, 6 years. I'm
Wow.
just paying exactly. Yeah. So if you wheel
Like
and
you're just
deal
paying
in
the exact
3 years,
part. That's it.
that's it. You know, and typically when I go to buy something, I always try to look for zero interest. If you pay it off in a year, there's no interest. Pay it off in a
Right.
year. You know what I mean? Why pay all that money on the interest? You're just pissing money away. You know, so
Yes. I think that's the most important part. I think that's one of the most important things that we learned today is if you could pay more on it, pay more on it so it's going towards the principal and not your interest. I think that's an important part because you know what? Credit card companies don't tell you that. When you get your statement, they give you like a kind of like a projection like, oh, okay, if you continue to pay the minimum payment, this is how much you'll pay. And that's it. They don't really give you information like, if you just double up on your payments, but if you do it, double up your payments in the same month, but not at the same time, you're going to build your credit. They're
yep.
just like, no, we want you to pay us once a month, where it's like, they don't tell you these things though.
And there's so many. So for instance, too, another thing that they don't tell you is, for instance, when you go to get a loan for whatever it is, whether it's a mortgage loan, any loan, the
Hmm.
people in the back that are looking you up, guess what they're looking at? Your spending habits.
Hmm.
So your debit card, anything that has to do with your bank, they look to see, is he a smoker? Is he a partier? Is he a this? What does he spend his money on? So my
Hmm.
suggestion to people, if you're gonna splurge, use cash. Cash is king.
Oh,
But don't
okay.
show the banks your spending habit. You get what I'm saying? Because that's what they're looking at when they're doing the credit report and checking to see who you are. They're in the back looking at all your statements and saying, "What kind of stuff does
Right.
this guy buy, and what does he do with his money?" So the
And
only thing you want to show the banks is you're paying your bills, fuel, food.
the basic necessities. That's it. Because you know what? I learned that because I bank with Bank of America, and when you do the online banking, they had the nerve to tell me the other day, "Oh, congratulations! On average, you're spending $410 less." Like, hi, what the? Who told y'all to put me on a budget? Like,
Right?
you know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden they're able to track this information. So I'm just giving validation to what you're saying is that is exactly true. Because if the bank is able to monitor how I'm spending my money and give me a graph chart of like, okay, you're spending this much on entertainment, you're spending this much on food, you're spending this much, they've already itemized everything I'm doing. And that's just the bank. That's not anybody
Yep.
doing a credit,
And
a credit inquiry. That's not anybody doing anything of that nature. It's literally just my bank telling me, hey, by the way, congratulations, you're spending $410 less.
that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they even do that, because most banks, they're banks are in the business of making money.
Hmm.
That's what they're in the business for. And another thing I want to bring to people's knowledge is too, is make your my new thing for 2021 is how to make money not being there. Okay, so make your money make money. So I want to tell you something. When you put your money in the bank and it just sits there, you're not earning interest. Guess what the bank's doing with your money? Loaning it to other
Hmm.
people. They're making money off of your money. So why are you gonna, like, if you have 10,000 in your bank? Why you got 10,000 in your bank just sitting there? Put it in the stocks. Put it into something. Make your money
Right.
make you money. You know, and that's
Yeah.
my goal
Investing in
this
stocks.
year,
That's
because
another
last year
class that we got taught in school.
yeah, yeah,
They taught
yeah.
us economics and civics in like half of the semester, and it was like, this has nothing to do with stocks and bonds, nothing to do with CDC, nothing to do with trust, nothing to do with bonds. I would have preferred to have learned all of that in high school, coming out of high school, going into college, than to, I took art,
Right, 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 right. I'm
like
telling
I did that.
I'm gonna give you an example. There's a guy on Twitter. They call him Wall Street Bets Guide.
Mhm.
Wall Street Bets God on this dude
Mhm.
because when the pandemic hit in March, right before it hit, you know how the markets, people don't even know that you can make money off of stocks when they're going down as well as when they're going up. Now, it's a
Mhm.
risky business. It's called option trading, and you really got to know what the hell you're doing. But this guy on Twitter showed his hands, which people
Mhm.
don't do. He said, look, Disney's going down to this number. The Royal Caribbean's SPY 500, and the
Mhm.
way that options trading works is a put means that you're saying you're bet. What it is you're betting on the market. You're saying, okay, the
Right.
SPY is going
I
to go
bet
down
it's
to
gonna go down, or I
220,
bet it's gonna go up.
and you make money though, and it makes way more money than buying stocks, but it's more riskier. But that, why
Right.
don't they teach us this shit? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Why is it something that you have to be genuinely interested in to learn it yourself, then to go and do it yourself? And it's just like all you see is rich men walking around. Like when our stock plummet, and you see brokers and you see all these people. Like, how do you guys get into that? And it's usually because they've already come from money. It's usually the people that you see in these suits that they've come from money. It's very
yeah,
seldom that you find, just us average folks, because we've learned the art of I'm going to trade my time for your money. And I think we
exactly.
as a society
You
have to
said
get
it
out of that. Especially if you come from poverty, if you come from a low income community, whatever the case may be, we've got to like wake up and get out of that.
Yes, yes. And I agree. And you said something that just hit a point for me. So you said we trade our time for money. Okay, when I
Hmm.
was younger, I'm gonna show you this tattoo. When I was
Hmm.
young and dumb and thought I knew everything, I got a tattoo that says time is money. That is the worst
Hmm.
fucking saying that you could ever say. Time, it is. I mean, time is so much more precious than money. You can't turn
Yes.
the clocks back. So no, there is no money, no nothing that can. Time is the most precious thing in the world, and people don't realize that we trade our fucking time in every day to make shit wages to live
Yep.
shitty. It
And
sucks.
to make somebody else's dream come to fruition, to
Yep.
make somebody else's, make their money because they're making more money than essentially I am. They're paying me what they feel, okay, that's appropriate, but I'm going to make
Yep.
more off of it in the end. So that's cool. You can stay in that position. And then I'm going to overwork you. And then I'm going to let you believe that you got to work 5 days a week, at least 8 hours.
Yeah. Yep. It's sad. It really
Hmm.
is, and, it's mind-boggling. Like, I'm so glad that I know what I know now, so that I can pass it down to the generations coming
Yeah.
up, like my nieces and nephews, my
I mean,
kids.
just your
I'm
kids in
teaching them.
general, your
That's my
kids are going to reap from this knowledge.
yep, yep, yep. Because
That is so
for
awesome.
instance, like there's a guy that got me into the option trading. Well, he comes from a middle class family, and so from middle class to the rich, that's what they teach their kids is
Yeah.
stocks and finances and credit. We don't teach that. We teach get your ass to work, make that money, and that's it. That's all we
Right.
teach.
And we come from that line of generational curses where people are like, okay, you 18, you grown now, go out there and handle yourself. Whereas I've
Exactly.
seen like, my white rich friends and my Asians, and they were able to stay at home and build a whole family. Now, granted, I'm still at home, but I was fortunate enough to come from a family that allowed me to be able to do that. Whereas some people, I see people who are bragging like, oh, I got my own, and it's like, congratulations on being an adult.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly, exactly,
like I'm not
exactly.
sure why you're bragging about,
Oh no.
you have to pay your own bill. Like, congratulations,
Yep, yep.
but
Welcome to the real world.
right, welcome to adulthood, okay? Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
but I think it's time that we start breaking some of those generational curses that we've seen and throwing our kids out to the wolves, because those are the ones who become primary victims to my credit is messed up because I didn't know how to handle my finances. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young. Didn't nobody teach me. Or I've even had, I know this aging era seems to be dying off, where I had friends who their parents had bills in their name.
Oh, in their kids' name.
Yeah, in their kids' names.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that
yeah,
kind of generation is
yeah.
dying
I
off.
know.
I don't know if that's still in existence, but I'm from an
I
era
think
where
with
some of my friends
the
had bills.
millennials, yeah, yeah. I I think that with the millennials and the post millennials, that something's happening with the human consciousness where people are waking the fuck up because,
Yes,
like, my nieces and nephews, they're like past where I was when I was their age, as far as maturity and thinking.
right.
Um,
I
it
would I
definitely
would
is
say
changing.
it's part
I
of
feel
us.
like it is.
I feel like it's part of us, with us trying to make our own way. We're tired of working for somebody else. Where our generation has learned to where, yeah, I went to college, so I got that whole, we got to go to college and you get a good job. But then I also kind of got some of that millennial in me that was like, oh, but you still got to be an entrepreneur. You can't just have one stream of income. Because if you really want to make it
Yeah,
to work in this area, or if you want to make it, you want to live a certain lifestyle, even if it's just how you want to live, you have to have
yeah,
multiple streams of income. You can't just stop at one, because what if one doesn't work out?
yeah, yeah.
And we saw
I,
that
I,
with, like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, with the generations coming up, you should have multiple trades.
Yes,
Like I said, I did barbering. I got my master barber's license, so I can actually
right.
train. I can train one apprentice per year to become a barber. Um,
Hmm.
I didn't get certified yet to be a certified arborist, but I will
Hmm.
eventually do that. That's just an online class that I got to do. And then carpentry, like I'm always still learning carpentry. That's a trade that you got to be in for a long time. And I've only been playing around with carpentry since like 2000 and I guess it was 12 or
Hmm.
yeah, about 12 is when I started dealing with that. So about 8 to 9 years I've been, but that wasn't steady. You know what I mean? Carpentry. Like I
Right.
didn't never get steady full time. Where barbering I did, and now tree work I've done steady full time. So
Right, but it was still a nice income to have, because it was like, if this isn't working, if this isn't calling, there's something else to always bounce back and forth to. So I agree that we have to have that, because even like with me, I still have a side job. Even though I have a decent job, I work for the city and county, that's never going to be enough, and I think people have to have that type of mind frame, that having just one stream of income is not going to, like, we don't live in the 1950s anymore.
no,
We don't live in that era where only the husband has to go to work, the wife can stay at home, they can have two kids, they can have a whole home, they can have a station wagon, the husband can have a Cadillac. Like, we don't live in that era no more, where it can be just one stream of income coming through your household.
yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And in most situations, with two parents, you'll never see the mom being home and the dad working. I'm fortunate enough that my wife has stayed home for the last
Hmm.
8 years with our kids. I was fortunate enough that I could make the income to allow her to be home. I know it's driving her crazy right now, especially with the pandemic. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like, okay, now
She's
everybody up.
like, she's like, I'm ready to go to work. The hell with this.
Right.
So, well, we got one more youngin. We got about a year, and then he'll be in elementary, and then she'll go back to work. So, but it's
Okay.
been a long journey. It's been a very long journey, and a lot that I've learned throughout this journey.
Wow. And I appreciate you coming on the show today and being able to share with us, and really being able, to open up about your experiences and giving us some credit hacks that, again, I don't know everything. I don't. And so I'm learning now, because I'm in that process. So I thank you for coming on and really sharing that information, because it's not enough of what we have going on, that conversation about
Yeah.
credit. So many people are afraid to talk about credit, because they
And
feel
that's
like, oh, my
sad.
credit
And
score.
that's sad. I
Hmm.
think that should be something that you brag about. Like me personally, I think right now my credit score is at like a 740.
Hmm.
So I almost hit 800 one time. So
Right.
that for me,
That's an accomplishment, because you could do so
yeah.
much more than a person who just has $100,000.
And there's so many different things with credit. Like for instance, I have my own business now, right?
Hmm.
Well, when you have your own business, if you do a LLC and get a EIN number, a tax
Right.
number, okay, guess what you can do? And you own, as long as you have a bank account for your business,
Hmm.
your business now can have its own credit line that won't hurt your credit.
Right.
So you can get loans for your business off of the business. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't affect your credit.
Hmm.
So, like, when you build a business, there's all different types of stuff that I'm still learning. Like, this is something that I recently learned about last year, that I can build my business's credit and not
Right.
hurt
So
my
now you have business credit versus your own credit.
exactly. And you can get more done with that. Like, I, for instance, when I first left the shop,
Hmm.
I tried to get a loan, a startup loan to start the barbershop. I went to
Hmm.
the bank and asked them about that, and they laughed at me. They said, banks don't do startup loans. I don't know what the hell you're thinking. They
Hmm.
don't. You have to have an existing business in order to really get a loan.
Loan.
So
Right.
yeah, so I had to go through a underwriter. You pay them, and they make you look like a legit business. As long as
Hmm.
you have your EIN number and a bank
Right.
account, they can get a loan for you for your business. So
Okay.
there's all different types of tricks, man.
Wow. Well, Joey, I appreciate you for coming on here and definitely telling us all this great information. And I'm going to encourage everybody who is watching at this time. I have Joey's information scrolling across the screen. So if you guys see it, please reach out to him. And don't be afraid to compensate my man for his time, okay? Don't just go to him asking him a bunch of questions thinking he's going to do it, okay? At least hook him up with a consultation fee, okay?
Right.
'Cause right now you are spitting some knowledge. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's money to be made out here, and the knowledge that you are giving, and you've given us some of it, for absolutely free, for absolutely nothing, and just to just to have that is great. So even if this could be another side hustle, you consultating with somebody, I'm gonna help you out. Y'all definitely hit Joey up.
Thank you.
His
Thank
Instagrams are here. It don't matter which one you hit up, he gonna respond
you.
back.
Definitely. Well,
But
I'll be
Joey,
right
I definitely want to thank you for your time because we've been on here for almost an hour. I didn't even think it was gonna get this deep. I was just like, okay, we're gonna, but
back.
man, this conversation right here,
Good
this is
stuff.
where it's at right here. So
Yes.
everybody that is watching, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on your post notifications. And again, if you want to carry this conversation on and you want to speak to Joy, please hit him up. But please make sure that you have some type of consultation fee because this is not just free time, and people are willing to pay somebody to fix their credit for $200 a month. Then you can at least give him a consultation fee just to talk to him and say, hey, this is my situation. What do you think? What are some suggestions? All of that. And I'm pretty sure he'll be willing to answer. Um, but y'all, today, this conversation right here, this is what we need more of. So Joey, I might have to be because we might have to do a part two.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Definitely. My
Yeah,
pleasure.
we'll have to do a part two.
All
And
right.
thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Right. All right, y'all. So make sure y'all understand it's okay to have your worries and wine. And we thank you for watching. So make sure you tune in to the next episode.